1 week season.
Hey, and welcome in OWS fam. So glad you are with us. We are back in the DFS lab presented by 1 week season. And the purpose of this show, as always, build a DraftKings lineup, use it to talk through the upcoming slate. And in this case, we got Showdown tonight with the Jets hosting the Bills. It is Monday morning, October 14th, 9 a.m. Eastern time when we're recording this, 6 a.m. Pacific. I'm your host, Cheeseman, and it's my pleasure now to welcome up Xandamere. Xandamere, how you doing, my friend? And how was week 6 for you? It was week 6, right? We just ended week 6, yes.
Yeah, this is the end of week 6. I know, it sort of blurs together. I'm doing pretty well. I'm just getting over, a bit of a cold, but such is life, such as parent life, right? Week 6 was sort of fine. I talk about this in Discord with our customers, with all our players all the time, about how to approach, MME play. Like, do you want to have a lot of exposure to a few guys, little exposure to a lot of guys? Like, how wide is your player pool? And there aren't right answers to these questions, right? It's just about your play style, your risk tolerance, your bankroll, what fits for you. I tend to play a very tight player pool most weeks. And so that means it's common for me to have weeks where I either have like negative 90% ROI. But the point of doing that is that when I get things right with my sort of core of players, it gives me the most opportunities to have the right other players mixed in around them, to actually have a lineup bubble all the way up to like first place or second place where all the money is. So it's actually weird for me to have like sort of a break-even week. Usually it's sort of binary for me. And this week was a very break-even week because I had most of the right plays in a lot of other spots, but then I was almost all in on Dallas, and we know how that went. Yes. So, like for example, if you look at my player exposures, I had 100% Bucky Irving. I had something like 60% CeeDee Lamb, like 35% Dak. My other running backs were like 35% roughly of Saquon, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. You can see how that worked out, right? Worked great for any lineup that paired Henry and Irving was looking really good. Any lineup that did not paired Henry with, paired Irving with Jacobs or Saquon was not good. It was dead. But the point of it is that means that 35% of my lineups roughly paired Irving with Henry, and were very live, except once in attack, right? And so you can sort of see how that plays out. I had like 50% Godwin, which was great. It's like I try to get this really tight core so that when I get it right, it gives me the most chances to actually have a lineup get all the way to first. I had a lineup finish 7th on Yahoo, which oddly was an Andy Dalton stack, of all things. All the Dak ones died, so that was a shame. Going into the afternoon games, I was really excited, and then it just sort of fell apart. But such is life, right? Like such is life. We try to give ourselves shots on goal, and any week where you have a lot of shots on goal, you have to feel pretty good about. They're not always going to go in. Winning DFS tournaments is hard. Right? Like even if you're playing well, you're not going to win more than a couple times a year, right? Like that pays for everything. So it's always a little disappointed to feel like you get almost everything right and don't get paid off. But that's just the nature of the game, So overall, it's kind of like I bought 600 lottery tickets ish. And for about a negative 5% ROI, right? Which sure beats buying 600 Powerball tickets at the gas station.
Oh, I love that analogy. Yeah, man, it's nice to just talk about it and hear your thoughts. It makes me feel better. I'm obviously, very much, going to be locked into what you guys are breaking down, and I do my own research, but sometimes just don't have as much time as I want to have, and so I was heavy on Dallas too, and the same as you. I was feeling pretty excited going into the afternoon, because I had a lot of good stuff as well. I had quite a bit of definitely over the field on Demario Douglas, had some Drake May lineups, just had those pieces mixed in, and then just was looking at a lot of these Dak lineups and thinking to myself, please Dallas, don't lay an egg here at home, and yeah, they scored 0 touchdowns, and Cooper Rush was playing the last couple drives. So that's basically how it turned out. Yeah, man. I mean, it's. I want to tell myself I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do like what you're not supposed to do. Say I'm not gonna play Dak again this season because he's gonna go off. They're gonna go off when they're like 1% and everyone's given up on them. But it's gonna be hard, to pull the trigger again. But hopefully I'll I'll do that at some point. But
Yeah. Can we really quick credit Hilo, our writer Hilo, for writing up the stack of Drake May, Demario Douglas, and Hunter Henry?
yes,
I don't think anyone around the industry was like, yeah, this is the tournament stack. And he wrote up that exact stack and wrote up why, gave a really, really well-reasoned argument as to why those two particular players paired well with May, why May was likely to scramble a lot and thus get some rushing yards and do well for his price. And sure enough, man, like that was what a god, like what a call. That's amazing.
that was. And just again, yes, 100% props to Hilo. He does a great job, and his analysis is always super sharp. And I remember the moment on the Slate podcast the other night, Inner Circle, when you guys, I think you said something like, I'm only going to have 3 or 4 quarterbacks this week. And Hilo said, is one of them Drake May? You guys, that show was, you guys were in midseason form on that one. But yeah, Hilo, great call on that. And yeah, I definitely had some of that, all thanks to him. I was not on it until he mentioned it. So great stuff. So
I also want to note really quick, you said something interesting, which I think is important. It's not Showdown related, so sorry for tangents. But you said, you're trying to do that thing of saying, well, I'm never playing this guy again. And that's really important. Because we see this all over our Discord, like Saquon Barkley had a really bad game yesterday, and people are like, I'm such an idiot for playing Saquon. Why did I play Saquon? And it's funny, for the first half of the game, maybe first quarter of the game, people were saying the exact same thing about Derrick Henry. Like, oh, why did I play Derrick Henry? I'm so dumb. I can't believe I played Derrick Henry. What a terrible play. I'm never playing Derrick Henry again. And then, of course, he goes off to get the bonus and 220-something rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. It's like we have emotional reactions to players performing well or not performing well. And, we can't judge our play based on just the outcomes, because good players have bad games all the time. Good players have bad games in good matchups all the time, right? We can't predict outcomes. All we can predict is this a good spot based on the player's expected role, the matchup, their salary, their ownership. Like, all we can do is identify if a player is a strong play based on factors that we know and can control for. We can't control what happens in the field. And if you want to be a successful long-term DFS player, you've got to get out of the space of like, I'm never playing this guy again. This guy's going on my shit list. I'm not playing Dak again. I'm not playing Saquon again. Like, he's just awful. I can't touch him ever again. No way. Or you also want to get out of the, I'm not going to play him until I see it, right? Like, sometimes people say like, oh, he's just playing really badly right now. I want to see him have a good game first. Guess what, though? That good game is going to win someone a tournament, probably at low ownership, right? Like, because if everyone's feeling like I can't play him until I see it, well, the person who's willing to take the risk before they see it is the person who wins all the money, right? So like, you've got to get out of that sort of emotional like reaction headspace of, this guy screwed me and I lost all this money because of him, and so I'm not touching him. Also, if you ever want to build a DFS lineup, you have to get out of that headspace, because otherwise your I'm not playing list is going to get really huge really fast, and then you won't be able to build a lineup.
Yeah, no, very well put. I don't even think I have anything to add to that, except just the whole idea of making a don't ever play this player list is just, it's not a good way. It's not a plus EV way to play, but that was gold right there, and super important just to remember. So good stuff, Xandamere. Okay, so showdown wise, Bills and Jets tonight. Before we jump into the actual game, I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on cash games in showdown. What are your thoughts? Are they still viable? Is it a plus EV way to attack showdowns or not?
Yeah, so this is coming from a couple years ago. Actually, I can't claim all the credit for this. Some friends who talk DFS a lot came up with this concept of like the magic showdown formula, which was basically play both running backs, both quarterbacks, both kickers in cash. The idea is you get exposure to essentially anytime the team scores, you're getting points for the most part, right? Like, rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. It was an incredibly high floor way to build a lineup. And it was great. It cashed at an incredibly high rate for multiple seasons. Made a lot of money thanks to that magic formula. Pricing has changed is the biggest factor here, right? Two factors. One is pricing has changed. Two is scoring has changed a little bit, right? It's kind of swung back a little bit so far this year, but for a couple of years, like, scoring became much pass heavier, right? We kept seeing that the NFL's transitioning back again into more of a passing league, and it always does this, right? It sways back and forth like a pendulum as offenses adjust and defenses adjust to that adjustment, and then offenses adjust to that adjustment, and around we go. Anyway, that formula worked really well for some time, and I'm concerned it doesn't work as well anymore because I shouldn't even say because I actually don't know. Like, I don't really know the because part of that sentence. I think pricing is the biggest thing, right? Um, it's harder now to fit in both quarterbacks, both running backs, both kickers, unless you do kicker captain, which is generally not ideal. Pricing used to be such that you could generally build that lineup in most showdowns with the RB ones and the QB ones, and you could usually have one of the RBs or quarterbacks as your captain, and it's really hard to make that fit nowadays in most showdowns. If you can, great. But the thing is, when you think about are cash games still viable? Do cash games still have an edge? There's two things to consider. One is, as we continue to march down the timeline of DFS, it's fair to assume that just about everyone who's entering has access to projections and an optimizer. And so, I mentioned was it last week or a couple weeks ago, we did a lineup build, and I built the lineup on the show and then said, but guess what? This is like the optimal of a major projection service. And so don't play this lineup, right? You have to know what the optimal lineup is, for one, if you're playing cash. And it's easier in Showdown to know what your opponents are likely going to be doing than it is on main slate. On main slate, you can generally predict some of the cash chalk, right? And you can go look at the top optimal lineup of major projection services and see, and some people are just going to enter that blindly, right? But in Showdown, there's fewer options. So you generally have a pretty strong idea of what people are doing. And so you can say, okay, what does this look like? So for example, if I go plug in, if I go to a projection service right now and plug in this Showdown, a lineup it gives me, the top optimal lineup it gives me is Breece Hall Captain, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins. So to me, I look at that and I say, Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins are both very fragile plays. And you can read my write-up as to why, right? You see, I can read the game analysis as to why those are fragile plays. And you might disagree with me, and that's fine if you do, right? But I think they're very fragile plays. So what that tells me is, if a large percentage of the field is likely to be playing Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins in cash, and both those guys have floors of 0, this might be a good one to play cash, right? Because I know that a large portion of the field is playing a cash lineup that's very fragile. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's fragile. Fragile means high range. Fragile doesn't mean bad. Fragile means wide range of outcomes, right? And it's important to understand that because I say that word fragile a lot, and I want to make sure I'm clear what I mean. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying a fragile play or a fragile lineup has a wide range of outcomes. And in cash, we want a narrow range of outcomes, high floor. So the philosophy of the Showdown cash build is still the same. The magic formula concept was basically it was a high floor build because it gave you access to all the scoring. And the concept is the same with how I want to play Showdown cash or any cash games, any format. I want high floor. I want to have, I don't care as much about the ceiling. I care more. And to be clear, the more head-to-heads you play, the more you should care about the ceiling, because you do get paid off for hitting ceiling in head-to-heads, right? Your win rate in head-to-heads is gonna affect your ROI significantly. Winning 60% of head-to-heads, you're gonna have a very different ROI than winning 70%. If you're playing more double ups and 50-50s, you're getting above the midpoint doesn't matter, right? Being in the last cashing spot is the same as being in first place. So for those, that's where the floor is really important. And so, I look to build in showdown lineups that have high floor plays in spots 1 through 6. And what you'll commonly see optimizers do, because optimizers are built for median projections, right? Mean projections rather. And that's actually a mathematical distinction, right? Mean versus median. Median is the exact midpoint of a series of outcomes. Mean is the average. And so median skews lower because averages skew higher because you can't have, I shouldn't say you can't, it's very unlikely for a player to have a negative score in DFS, right? You can't have negative rush attempts. It's very rare for a player to have an actual negative score. Every once in a while we see it, right? Travis Etienne managed that difficult feat in London when he had a carry for negative yards and they got hurt. So because projection systems look at means, they often shove in players with wide ranges of outcomes whose floors are very, very fragile. like Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins. And so that tells me that this is an attackable showdown because I'm willing to take the chance that Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins are just going to, they're very fragile plays. I'm willing to take the chance they're going to burn those people who play them by having poor games, especially against the Jets, who are very, very good defense, right? The matchup's not good. So this is a spot where I think you could build a slightly higher floor lineup than this optimal lineup. And you're not always going to win still, right? Sometimes Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins will have the good game. They'll have the sort of outlier game, and you'll die and you'll lose and be pissed because, this fragile play got there. But that's just the nature of the beast, right? One of the things about Showdown is you get so many samples throughout the season. It's not like main slate where you only have a few, and so you'll lose some because of those cheap, fragile plays going off. But you'll also win. You'll win more than you lose, hopefully, if you build smart, higher floor lineups. So I think it's not quite Showdown Cash is not quite the cornucopia of free winnings that it used to be, sadly for me and my bankroll. But it is, I think it's still a beatable format. The edge in most formats of DFS continues to shrink as the field gets better, as tools get better, as projections get better, right? Like the edge continues to gradually shrink. But if you think cash isn't beatable, look, I hate to advertise for a competitor, right? But go look at Adam Levitan over at ETR. He is the cash game king of DFS. He plays cash. Most of his money is in cash every single week. It has been for ever since DFS started. Talks about cash games all the time. He is a cash game guy. He's not a really big tournament guy. And he posts his cash game results publicly for everyone to see every single week. And he talks about his lineup and how he made the decisions he does. And he has been a consistently profitable cash game player for a decade, even as the edge continues to shrink, right? So it's still beatable. The edge shrinking does not mean it's no longer there, right? We just have to continue to adjust our strategy as the field adjusts, right? The game continues to evolve, and we can't just blindly do the same thing we did 5 years ago and expect it to continue working, right? We have to evolve with it.
Yeah, love it, man. So much good stuff right there. I'll probably go back, or if you're listening to this, you might have to listen to that twice just to pick through some of the things. But one thing I like that you said is just even in a cash, not every slate has to be a good slate for cash, but there might be some that are better than others. Just even looking at, plugging in, running the optimal roster and saying, hey, here's a couple of really fragile plays that there's probably gonna be a large percentage of this lineup in cash games. And so I'm just going to try and build a little higher floor lineup, and that will be a plus EV play, even if it doesn't work out, because again, like you said, Mac Hollins might catch a touchdown, and then all those cash lineups will easily beat you. But yeah, great stuff there, Xandamere. Anything else you want to add, or ready to jump into the lineup building here?
I'm ready to jump in.
All right, let's do it. Here is DraftKings, and we got the Bills and the Jets tonight. Let me just jump in and get the the right game here, and let's just do the stick with a hard count, and let's get into it. So yeah, man, I mean, obviously this is basically a pick 'em here with, I think, the Bills favored by 1 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
What are your initial thoughts with this one, and then how do you want to go in terms of starting out this lineup?
Yeah, so we have this strength on strength matchup here, as the Bills have been one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL so far, which honestly is kind of amazing. They lost Jeff Diggs, and they have this cast of characters that are not what most teams would think of as elite skill position players. They keep doing it. They've been one of the top scoring offenses of the league so far this season. The Jets have been one of the best defenses of the league this season. So you have this very much strength on strength matchup of, can the Bills, overcome the Jets defense, or was the Jets defense going to really slow them down? So it's worth noting who each team has played. Sorry, let me back up. On the Jets side, we have the Jets has been a very poor scoring offense, right? And in particular, their run game. Breece Hall has been stuck in the mud, right? He's run for what's this 3 yards per carry so far. Awful. So we start seeing these trends. We got to go look at who they played, because we're still talking about a small sample of games, right? These teams have not played that many games so far. So the Bills have played the Cardinals, the Dolphins, and that was the game Tua got injured early. I don't remember when Tua got hurt.
Yep, that was week 2 on
Yeah, I
Monday
didn't know
night,
if
I
Tua
think.
missed the game entirely or got hurt early. They played the Jaguars. They played the Ravens, got stomped by them, and they played the Texans. So most of the Bills scoring, the Bills scored 30 points or more against their first 3 opponents, and then 10 against the Ravens, 20 against the Texans. The Cardinals, Dolphins, and Jaguars are not exactly good defenses, right? Especially, and the Dolphins are okay, but like they didn't have Tua, they couldn't keep the ball at all on offense. They just, they couldn't get anything going. The Bills control time possession. Jags and Cardinals are awful defenses. Baltimore is a conundrum of a defense this year to me. And they have generally been good, but they're giving up, they give up some of the most passing yards in the league. Texas defense is reasonably good. So the Bills basically have stomped all over terrible defenses and have struggled against the 2 average to above average defenses they faced. The Jets, meanwhile, have faced really good defenses. They face San Francisco. Tennessee's not good. New England's good. Denver's really good. And the Vikings, really good. So we think about these teams' offensive identities and defensive identities. We need to recognize who they've played so far. So the Jets have had a really tough early game schedule for their offense against some of the league's best defenses. The Bills have mostly had an easier schedule. And so the true talent level of these teams is probably a little bit different than we're thinking about based on their early season results. The Jets are probably not this bad on offense. The Bills are probably not this good on offense. So with that in mind, let's kind of dig into this. I mentioned that Breece Hall has looked atrocious, and he has, right? Like there's no getting around that. He has still kept his role in that he's still playing, around, 70-ish% of the snaps, mid-60s, I think it was. I have to go look again. He's like his snap count hasn't decreased, right? The Jets have been running a little bit less because they've been facing some really difficult rushing matchups, and because they have been effective in the run game. Braylon Allen has looked better in the run game, but he's not eating into Breece's role, or at least the eating into Breece's role is not climbing. I thought it might, right? Like I thought that Braylon Allen's role might climb because he played well and Breece has played poorly, but so far that hasn't happened. Maybe it will. I don't know, right? It could happen at some point, but so far it hasn't. So I think that Breece Hall is still like the guy in this backfield. And the Jets have a really good offensive line. The Bills are dead last in yards per carry allowed to opposing running backs. So as I see it, this is the get right spot for Breece. I also think that, the Jets, of course, just went through just fired their coach, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's really common when a new coach comes in that they generally want to get back to basics, right? That's a common theme you hear when new coaches take over. Get back to basics. And what that means for most NFL coaches is focus on the run, get the run game right, because most NFL coaches believe the pass game flows from the run game. Whether or not you believe that's true is irrelevant because most coaches believe that.
They believe it. Yep.
The question here is, does Aaron Rodgers just kind of do his own thing? And he's always a wild card. Aaron Rodgers is, always a bit of a wild card in terms of what he will do. He gets up to the line and decides to call an audible or not on the play call. So I see it, though, as the Jets are going to want to come into this game with a run-heavy game plan. The matchup says run. The new coaching, regime change leans towards run. Playing against a high-powered offense with a good defense, you often think teams like to run in those situations because they want to grind time off the clock, because they think if they control time possession, it gives them a better chance to keep the other high-powered offense off the field, gives them a better chance to win the game. Also, it gives their own defense a time to rest a little bit, right? Like if you watch really good defenses playing games where they don't control time possession, they can get run down because playing defense is exhausting. Playing defense is more exhausting than playing offense, right? Playing offense, there's plays where the ball's not coming your way, and you might not be running full out every single play. They're still out there trying. Obviously, I'm not meaning to imply they're just taking it easy. But defense, you have to be all in every play, every time, because you never know where the ball's going, and it's tiring. Defenses get worn out, and so keeping the run game or using the run game to grind away clock keeps your defense off the field and gives them time to rest. And so I think we're likely to see a run-heavy game plan from the Jets in this one. And I think that Breece Hall's price has dropped to the point where he is now a really attractive captain choice. So that's where we're going to start the lineup. We're going to start the lineup Breece Hall Captain. I'm betting on the Breece Hall turnaround game here.
Yeah, I like it. And yeah, I feel like it would not be uncommon if last year he would have been like 18,000 for a captain salary. So this is, yeah, attractive price and a get right spot. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And if you actually go look at his salary history, right, like you can see an interesting thing is that DK does salaries or does showdown slates for every single game. They're smaller showdowns. Like they do them on Sundays, like for all the Sunday games, they all have their own showdown slate. And so you can actually go look at a player's pricing history, even if they haven't been on island games. And so if you go click into Breece Hall real quick, you can actually see his pricing history. And you see he was over 10,000 every single week up until last week, right, when he was 9,400. So it does look to me, right, like to your point, he would have been more expensive last year. He was more expensive earlier this year. So, I like catching players when I feel like I like getting players at a discount when I feel like I know why. Sometimes players are trailing off, right? Sometimes players their price is declining because they're playing really poorly, and they're likely to continue playing really poorly. In this case, I think Breece Hall has played poorly, but he's also had some really tough matchups, and now he gets just about one of the best matchups a running back could get outside of facing Carolina. So this is a spot I want to go in on him. I want to go in on him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Breece Hall at captain. So now that you got the running back at captain, do you want to look at the Jets first? I mean, do you want to pair Aaron Rodgers with him, or do you want to look at the Bills side next?
So I'm going to go to the Bills next. There's the story I want to tell with this lineup is the Jets are able to successfully, control the game and build a lead. I'm telling the story of the Jets either win the game or at least it's very close until the end. And, it mostly comes on the ground. And so that tells me at some point the Bills are going to be passing at an elevated rate. And so I want to go Josh Allen for the next pick. And Josh Allen is just an easy, obvious pick, right? He is he's one of the highest floor ceiling plays in the NFL, any slate he's on, right? Because his passing ability combined with his rushing ability, like, why would you not want to play Josh Allen every single time you can play Josh Allen?
Yep. Not going to argue that.
The odds of him not being in the optimal lineup are fairly low. If you were to go calculate the odds and simulate out the slate 1,000 times, calculate the odds of Josh Allen being in the optimal lineup, he'd be the highest percentage player on the slate by a wide margin. So I'm not trying to get that contrarian, right, to fade Josh Allen.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then I will note, remember I said earlier the optimal lineup for a major projection service was Breece Hall, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, and 2 punt plays. So I want to make sure I avoid that, right? Because I could go Aaron Rodgers, but that's sort of putting me into a salary structure of being very close to this optimal lineup. And
exactly.
When you're playing in tournaments, you have to think of not just what is the optimal lineup, but what are like a couple of 1v1 or 2v2 pivots off of the optimal lineup, and how common are those going to be? So I don't want to go down a direction that just points me at playing the optimal lineup or playing something that's super close to it, right? So I'm going to go, and I put Josh Allen in. You will note the optimal lineup did not have a Bills pass catcher and had Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go a direction that makes me not have to go to those punt plays. I am not really enamored of the cheap punt plays in this showdown. Like I said, Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins, I think their floors are near zero. Who else do you have down there? Marcus Valdez-Scantling, 0 floor, right? Dawson Knox, 0 floor. Jeremy Ruckert, 0 floor, right? The best punt plays are like Jets D and Tyler Conklin, and I wouldn't even call them punts really. They're more values in that like 3-4K tier.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm trying to build an expensive captain lineup without using those punt plays, because I think it's very likely that all of those like sub Conklin level punt plays, they all fail. And a lot of people are going to be pulled onto them because of the way projections work and because of the way optimizers are pushing them in. So my goal is to avoid those plays this one. So we're going to go a different direction, and we're going to go with my 2 favorite Bills pass catchers. By the way, it should be noted, I don't know if Khalil Shakir is playing today. We have not seen like Adam Schefter news, at least that I'm aware of. We've not seen news about him. He's listed questionable. He got in 1 limited practice, So he really seems like legitimately questionable 50-50-ish. If he's out, this lineup becomes stronger because my two favorite Bills pass catchers are not Khalil Shakir. If he's in, I still think it's fine, but keep in mind that like if he's we'll talk it through. So we're assuming Shakir is out. I'm going to go, the next two plays are Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman. Right. And so I don't want to go super late today because I'm not feeling well. My voice is already starting to go. Keon Coleman is actually leading the Bills pass catchers in snaps and routes. Oddly, Matt Collins is second, although Matt Collins isn't earning targets when he's on the field. Keon Coleman is, I think, going to end up being their wide receiver 1 by the end of the season. And it's common for me to look for ascending players in DFS. Again, I mentioned earlier, you want to be on spots early, especially in tournaments. And Keon Coleman is not some super sneaky play. People know who he is, right? But like, if I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 by the end of the season, that means I also think he's probably going to be more than 6,800 by the end of the season. And so like that's a spot where I just want to be heavy on because I think he's good, and he hasn't really had the big game yet. But I believe he's likely to at some point. Will it be here? I don't know. It's the Jets. It's hard. It's a hard defense, right? But someone's got to score for the Bills. And then Dalton Kincaid is probably their most overall talented pass catcher. The Bills have been doing some like really infuriating stuff this year where they're playing him like 60% of the snaps. And it's like, what are you guys doing? He's your best pass catcher. Why don't you want him on the field more? But they're really stubbornly insisting that Dawson Knox still play a lot, even though Dawson Knox is terrible. And so it's deeply frustrating to me as someone who wants to see Kincaid on the field more. Dawson Knox has 5 targets in the season, but Dawson Knox is playing half the snaps. So, at some point, I feel like the assumption of rational coaching is a dangerous thing, but at some point, coaches usually get around to being more rational. Like, they might not do it as fast as we as fans would like them to, but they generally get around to it. And so at some point, I have to think the Bills are going to say, hey, Kincaid's our best pass catcher. We need him on the field more than this. And that will come either at the expense of Dawson Knox or at the expense of 2 wide receiver sets. In week 1, the Bills ran 12 personnel at their highest rate of the season. And it got Kincaid up to the 80% snap range while keeping Knox in the 50-ish% snap range. So they can do that too. They have multiple options for how to get Kincaid on the field more. At some point, I have to think they do it because he is their best pass catcher. And especially if they're missing, excuse me, if they're missing Khalil Shakir, they didn't do it last week when they were missing Khalil Shakir, which was surprising to me. I thought they would. I thought they would try to get Kincaid on the field more in that situation without Shakir. But they also lost the game. So maybe, just maybe, they will realize, hey, we didn't put our best pass catcher on the field as much as we should have. Maybe we should change that this week. So my hope is that Kincaid plays more. He's the most talented pass catcher. So this gives me what I think of as the Bills, essentially pass catchers 1 and 2 in this lineup. If Shakir plays, I'll spoiler the lineup and tell you a little bit and tell you that you have enough salary to go Kincaid to Shakir, should you wish. So that's an option, right? Like you have some optionality in this lineup if Shakir ends up being in. I'd probably stick with Kincaid personally, but I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to change your route, or if you're building multiple lineups and you wanted to build a couple iterations of it. Okay, what's next?
All right, yeah.
Next, we're going to plug in Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a player who is he's very much a boom bust kind of player, right? He's had this profile for years. He's a deep threat receiver. Keep in mind he came into the season injured, right? He had off-season surgery, or maybe he had surgery I think he had the surgery during last season actually, but he was out for a lot. He missed a lot of last season with an injury. I think ACL, I believe. Came back this year. The Jets have been slowly ramping him up. I think we kind of saw him do the same thing with Breece Hall last year, right? Breece Hall came back from an ACL injury, and they sort of ramped him up gradually. This last week, in week 5, Mike Williams played his highest snap count of the year, ran his most routes. You can see, his targets have kind of gone up, 0, 1, 4, 5, 4. He's never going to be a 10-target guy like, say, Garrett Wilson. But I do think that he's going to become a 6, 7-target guy on average in the long run in this offense. I think Allen Lazard is probably going to somewhat switch places with Mike Williams in the long term in this offense. And I think that, again, this is a boom-bust spot where we haven't seen the boom this year. And so I think his ownership is going to be lower than it should be for a guy with his ceiling.
Right,
as a long one.
as a guy who, exactly, if you're taking Mike Williams, you're hoping that, they take some deep shots and he's able to haul in a long touchdown pass, 60-yard touchdown, add in a couple others. And, he's going to be a player I'm very happy with, especially the ownership he'll probably be.
Yeah, I mean, look at like week 4 versus Denver. He caught 4 or 5 balls for 67 yards, right? Add a touchdown to that, and at 5,600, and it's likely a lower scoring game probably with 2 good defenses. You're almost certainly happy with that. Week 3 against New England, 3 catches for 34 yards, add a touchdown to that, 12.4 DK points. Pretty decent odds that ends up in a winning tournament lineup. Not as certain as the Denver line where you would have had 16.7 DK points. That's almost certainly in a winning lineup. But 12.4, that's probably in a winning lineup in this matchup. So, that's what I like to do is look at players and say, what happens if I add a touchdown? Or what happens if I take away a touchdown? What do their scores look like? Because touchdowns are so highly volatile, right? Like we can't predict them with much success. So I like to say, like, if I take away a touchdown, is this guy still capable of putting up a good score? Or if I add a touchdown, what does it look like? Because those will just come and go throughout the season. Okay, last spot. We have 2 choices, basically. Well, there's 3 choices. We could do one of those punt plays like Matt Collins or Curtis Samuel, but bleh. I also already have 2 Bills pass catchers, right? And so adding a third Bills pass catcher, it's like, I'm saying if I add a third Bills pass catcher, I should probably have Josh Allen at captain instead of Breece Hall. Yep. Because what I'd be saying is that the Bills passing game has a huge day if it's carrying 3 pass catchers along with it to optimal lineups, right? And so if 3 Bills pass catchers end up in the optimal lineup, the most likely optimal captain is Josh Allen at that point. And so I'm going to avoid those guys. So it's really Tyler Conklin, tight end Tyler Conklin, and Jets defense are my last 2 choices. And so I like Tyler Conklin. I think he is a sort of underrated tight end. He's not a guy that we see. He's not flashy. He's not a big name, but he's very involved in the offense. He's got 2 double-digit DK scores so far this season, which is good. At 4K, that probably puts him in the optimal lineup. Again, no touchdown, right? So you add one of those. He's a good play. However, today in this lineup, I'm going to go Jets defense, and for a couple reasons. One is, excuse me, sorry. I think that Tyler Conklin is going to project a little bit more. And so I try to think about how projections are going to build lineups in terms of predicting what the field will do. I think that, this lineup is not using any wildly unowned players. And so I think that there will be more duplication of this lineup with Conklin than there will with Jets, because Tyler Conklin's going to outproject the Jets, and you can fit him. And so if people are kind of building around a rule set and an optimizer that gets them to a variation of this lineup, gets them close to this, Conklin's going to be the more popular choice for the last spot for an optimizer to put in versus Jets D. Jets D, I think, aligns well with Breece Hall at captain. We know that running back and defense have a positive correlation. That's something that we don't see as people don't talk about it as much in DFS anymore. That was like one of the early days of DFS, like, oh, correlate your running back and defense, haha, free money. We don't see that as much, and I think the correlation is weaker than it used to be. But it's still relevant. It's more relevant in some games and for some teams than others. In this case, the reason I want it is because what I need for this to hit, if you look at Breece Hall's carries, his workload is going to change depending on game script. The Jets have actually one of the higher pass rate over expectation teams in the league, and I think that's somewhat because of their struggle to run the ball so far. But what I want in this scenario is I want them to be able to run the ball, and I want the game to stay close or the Jets to play from ahead. And so I think that Jets D, including Jets D, tells a story of a couple sacks, a turnover early on that let the Jets play from ahead, that get Breece Hall more touches. Josh Allen is awesome, but he's, it's fair to say that he can sometimes be careless with the football. He hasn't thrown a pick this year, right? Which is odd for him. But he's already lost 2 fumbles. He can be a little bit careless at times with football. He can take sacks because he tries to kind of scramble around behind the line of scrimmage, trying to make things happen with his legs. So I think Jets D is the play that fits the rest of this lineup best. But if you want to go Conklin, I wouldn't blame you. And there's some optionality in this lineup, right? Like you can move things around. You could go Mike Williams. You could go Mike Williams to play, say, Greg Zerlin and go kicker as another Jets piece. you can then keep Jetsty or go up from Jetsty. Kincaid can become Shakir plays. So there's a lot of optionality with this basic lineup structure. But like for me, this lineup structure is how I'm going to be attacking the slate tonight. I want to build largely around the Bills pass game and the Jets run game. So.
Love it, Xandamere. Great stuff, man. This has been a great episode. And I'm excited to attack this game. I know Thursday was a big one for 1 week season. And so I'm hoping it's another one here. I like the Breece Hall kind of trying to, betting for him to be in a get right spot. So great stuff, man. And guys, head to 1 week season. Check it out more there. Xandamere, and good luck tonight, man. Good luck attacking the showdown. And I hope you enjoy this one.
Thank you. Yeah. Good luck to you as well. I hope you have a good slate. I always joke that the last one was really good. Thursday was really good. I always joke that the slates that I can't play are the ones where my write-ups do the best. We had a bunch of people. A bunch of people won that one on the strength of Tyler Lockett. Oh my God, I don't even remember. It was Tyler Lockett. It wasn't. Debo and Kittle. Debo and Kittle were my favorite 49ers, and Lockett was my favorite Seahawk, and they all hit. So yeah, it's the slates I can't play where the write-up does well. So if you're counting on that, I will tell you I'm playing tonight. So if that makes you want to run for the hills, I understand.
And then tonight it'll bounce back in your favor. So because that's how it always works. Awesome, man. Great stuff, Xandamere. Good luck tonight, as I said before. And guys, we will catch you next time. Thanks for joining us on the DFS Lab.